Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, So Little Time, and my name is Karen. So today's vlog is all about the hashtag swapsharesew, and this was created by Rosy of Rosy Sews Modern Vintage and Jayne of Loopy Mabel's Closet. If you've not heard of them before, or if you'd like to check out their YouTube and Instagram accounts, then please do so. I'll link all the details in the description box below for you. They decided to come up with a sewing challenge for the month of October, whereby you were paired up with another sewer and you shared some haberdashery notions and then sewed up a garment which included these notions on it. So I was paired up with a lady called Yelena of Sew Projects, and she has a Instagram account as well, and I'll link her details in the description box below for you. She actually puts kits together for making underwear, so if that's something that you're interested in, then I definitely recommend checking her out. It's something that I would like to have a go at, so I am going to purchase a kit at some point from her. So we swapped, had our details swapped, and then contacted each other, and I basically introduced myself to her, told her a little bit about me, and then sent her a photo of 3 patterns that I already had in my stash but have not ever made before. So I decided to go with the theme of a pinafore dress, as during the autumn winter months that is something that I wear quite a lot of, so it is in high rotation at this time of year. And the 3 that I sent her was the Ivy Pinafore by Jennifer Lauren, and the Camden Pinafore by Nina Lee, and the Freja dress pinafore, which was free with Simply Sewing magazine. So Yelena kindly chose for me the Freja dress, and to be honest, that wasn't my most favourite out of the 3, so I'm quite pleased that she actually picked that one, because I think it would have been sat in my stash for a hell of a lot longer than anticipated. So I'll show you the pattern. So the Freja dress then is an A-line pinafore style with a fitted waistband, an invisible zip at the back, crossover straps where these are clasped with 2 buttons on the inside of the waistband. There is also an option of making the skirt as well, but I wanted to make the dress. So I purchased some fabric from Crafty Sew in Leicester, and that was some stretch navy needle cord. So I'll just show you it here. I've pinned it onto my garment planner, and you can see it has quite a bit of stretch in that. Now this needle cord I was really impressed with. I ordered it online, so I hadn't actually felt the fabric, and I don't usually do that. I like to handle the fabric first usually, but being it was from Crafty Sew, so I knew it would be of good quality. So I went ahead and ordered 1.5 meters. And then I went into the store to collect it, and the quality of it I was not disappointed with at all. For a needle cord, it has actually got quite a bit of structure, so I was really pleased with that, and it was so soft as well. Whilst I was at Sew Brum, I picked up some lining fabric in Barry's, some anti-static lining just in navy blue, so I could interline the pieces, because I knew I'd be wearing this dress with tights, so I didn't want it to stick obviously to my legs or anything like that, and when you're wearing a coat it usually finds its way up around your middle, so I didn't really want that to happen. So I already bought that lining fabric, and you can see that's on here, and it is actually quite a close match to the needle cord. It just looks brighter on screen. So the notions then that you send each other, Yelena sent me a little package which included some mustard thread, and there were some little embroidery flowers, a fat quarter of mustard fabric with blue floral on, and that's this one here, and also some rick-rack trim and a couple of buttons. So I wanted to ideally include all of these notions in my make, and I have managed to do that, so I'm really, really pleased. So basically the pinafore dress itself, it has a front skirt piece, but I think actually this was in 2 pieces, but I decided to do it on the fold because I didn't really want a seam line down the middle of the skirt. And then it has 2 back skirt sections, which has a back seam in and a 10-inch invisible zip. And then the bodice has darts, which are just here, going up from the waistband. And then the waistband is double-sided, so you have the outer fabric showing on the inside, which is quite nice. And then it has these 2 straps. So the straps I did lengthen just by 2 inches, just in case they came up a little bit short, just to err on the side of caution. But I actually didn't need to do that at all, because now they're too long. I decided to, like I say, line the dress so it wouldn't stick to my tights. So I interlined it as I do with my Clio Pinafore dresses. And I basically cut out the bodice section in the lining and the skirt pieces in the lining. So I didn't put lining on any of the straps or the waistband. With the fact that the bodice has darts, I did the bodice exactly the same as I did the dress bodice. So put the darts in, but then I put them wrong sides together and then basted around the edge within the seam allowance. So on the inside of the dress, the darts, they're just lines, so you haven't got the flappy bits of fabric there, because that's on the inside, so that's all concealed, which is really nice. And then the skirt pieces, I just, laid them wrong sides together again and just basted around the edge within the seam allowance and then treated those as one piece. The construction of the dress was really fairly straightforward to sew. I didn't have any problems. There were a couple of errors in the instructions which I came across, so I'll go into more detail about that in a moment. But overall it was a really nice sew. I did take my time. I did it in small chunks over the last sort of couple of weeks. I just wanted to take my time with it and not rush it, which I'm really pleased that I did that. And it also gave me time to think about how I wanted to use these haberdashery notions that Yelena sent me. So the rick-rack trim I decided to put around the bodice. So I've put it around the top here and then it sort of goes down to there. And then I've put it on the pockets. So I'll just stand up so you can see it's got side slant pockets. So I've put the trim across the top of the pockets. And then I've put the little embroidery flowers. I just hand stitched those on there. For the actual mustard floral fabric that she sent me, I made that into bias binding, which I use my little Clover bias binding maker. You can buy those from most haberdashery shops or on Amazon online or something like that. And for the particular one that I've got, it's a red one. I can't remember the size of it, but I have to cut 1.5 inch size strips, cut on the bias, and then you feed them through this little maker and use your iron to create the folds as it comes out of the other side, and that creates a really nice sort of width of bias binding to put around the edge of facings, and I use it on hemming my dresses and that kind of thing. So I have done that, and on the inside there is a facing which I will try and pull out, and you'll see that I've got the bias binding then around the edge of that, just to finish that off nicely, because in the instructions it just tells you to finish the edging. So I suppose you would either zigzag that or use your overlocker if you didn't want to bias bind it. And then on the hem of the dress I have used the bias binding just to finish that, just so it gives it a bit of weight at the bottom and just gives it a nice little interesting bit on the inside. And there you can see my lining fabric, which is a lot darker than it is coming up on the screen. And I used the mustard thread just for when I was attaching the bias binding on the facing, but I wasn't able to do it on the bias binding on the hem, because when I put it on in the bobbin on the bobbin reel and then was sewing the hem, it was coming through, and it didn't matter how much I changed the tension on my machine, it was still coming through to the other side. So when you looked at the dress on the outside, you could see the yellow stitching sort of coming through, and I didn't want that, so I just used navy in the end. So on that you'll see that it's a blue navy stitching line, which is a little bit unfortunate because I wanted that to be mustard, but not a lot I can do about it if my machine didn't want to play ball. So yes, the dress then itself was really, really straightforward to make. The instructions are pretty clear considering it's come out of a magazine. So I'll just show you here what the instructions look like. So you'll see there are some pictures here included which are numbered, and they correspond with some of the paragraphs in the instructions. And then on the reverse there is a lot more there. The only thing I would say is that they have used navy fabric, and then it's quite dark so you can't see some of the pictures very well. Like here it's got a zip picture on and you can't see that all that well. The couple of errors that I came across whilst making up the dress in the instructions was where you insert the straps, because these are sewn in between the facing and the bodice section. and that you basically have a notch at the top on the bodice, and you're supposed to line the straps up with that notch. And if you did that, the straps would have been more over here. So they would have been, I don't know, like you would have had a bit of this sticking out and they were more in. And before I actually made this dress up, I did sort of have a look online on Instagram at the people who had made it. And I'm glad I did, because I saw that a lot of people had obviously followed the instructions and their straps aren't in the right place because they are supposed to be at the edge. And I did contact Rosy, who is Rosy Sews Modern Vintage, because she's made this dress up before, and I did contact another lady as well who has made this dress, just to ask them if they had come across that problem, and they had. So that was interesting. So in the end, I just went with my gut. I knew it was wrong, and it's 1.5 centimetre seam allowance. So I basically measured in 1.5 centimetres from the edge, and then pinned my strap there, and then sewn it in between the when it was sandwiched in between the outer and the facing, and then when I turned it right sides out, it was in the right place. So just bear that in mind if you ever do make this dress, that is actually wrong. And then when you are putting the waistband on, again, you're sandwiching the bib in between the two waistbands, the inner and the outer waistband. And the instructions, it wasn't very clear. I think when I was following it, I was laying, I think, the waistband pieces together and the bib was still on the bottom. So even though you had the 3 pieces layered on top of each other, I didn't have them in the right order. And that is because of the way the instructions tell you to do it. It makes it seem like it is that way. So I thought, no, I don't think that's right. You know, when you just know it's not right. So then I was like, I need to have a think about this. And I just kept rereading it. And then I was like, no, it needs to be the other way. So I knew that the bib had to be sandwiched in between. So I went with my gut and it was right. So there, I think that wording is slightly wrong in there. But otherwise, it went together beautifully. I had no problems. But where I'd lengthened the straps where I didn't need to, when I put this, I think it was the last bit where I put the buttons on the inside of the waistband, I just roughly sort of guessed where it was going to be. My mum came round and I had her pin the straps into place on the waistband for me so that I could then take it off with the pins in it, and then I put the buttons on at the appropriate place and then did my buttonholes on my straps. So that went absolutely fine. I was a little bit nervous about doing buttonholes because I've not done any for a long time, and on my machine it is a automatic buttonhole setting, and it's got a little attachment for the foot on my sewing machine. And actually I did a practice go on the same piece of fabric and it went through fine, and then it went fine on both straps, so thank goodness. And the zip went in fairly straightforward as well, because I was a little bit concerned about that with it being quite thick fabric, with it being corduroy and with having the lining fabric on there, but again, no problems. So really pleased with it, and everything's concealed. So I will take the dress off actually so you can see the inside in better detail, because I'm really pleased with how this make has turned out, and I'm so pleased that I made this dress out of the 3. The silhouette is lovely. As you can see, the bib, it comes down to the side here, and then over on the back it's got the crossover straps, and then this is an invisible zip within the waistband. The only small marginal error that I made was where I was lining up the waistband pieces when putting the zip in. I think there's like a 2 millimetre difference, and you can't really see it because of this dark fabric. So I'll stand back so you can see the dress in its shape a lot better. Okay, so I'll put the pockets there, and you can see I've put these little embroidery flowers on. The seam line goes down here, so the pocket actually sits across the back and front piece of the skirt on both sides, and they are functional pockets. So it's quite an A-line skirt. You could bring it in more if you wanted to, if that's your preference. Nice fitted waistband. See at the back, like that. It's really comfortable being in this stretch corduroy fabric, and the size I made was the size 12. And I haven't made any alterations to it whatsoever. So again, I've been really lucky that it's fitted me straight out of the packet. I decided to go with the size 12 because the measurements were sort of, I was in between a 12 and a 14. So the bust is a 35 on a size 12, 35 inches, and the waist is a 28 inch and the hips are a 38 inch. Now, I've said in the past that my measurements are a 34 inch bust, 29 inch waist and 41 inch hip. But because this was an A-line skirt, I knew I was going to have no problems with the sort of, it doesn't give you the finished garment measurements. So that was a little bit like, oh, hopefully it'll work out. But I knew with it being an A-line, usually that just skims over my hips, no problem. And my waist, obviously being a 29, was in between the 14, which is a 30 inch. But I thought with this being a stretch corduroy as well, I would have that little bit of give in the fabric. And usually I size down on my measurements on a pattern anyway. And I think I usually make a size 12 quite regularly now, actually. So that's quite interesting to find that I am sort of sitting at a certain size on patterns, because my UK size in normal clothes shops is between an 8 and a 10. So I am a size bigger on patterns. Yeah, so the size 12 was perfect for me. So if you're similar build to me, or then, you know, that would be the one for you. I could have probably sized down to a size 10 with this fabric having stretch, but if I was making it with no stretch at all, I'd definitely still make the size 12. And it's really comfortable because it's not tight at all, and if I go out for a big meal, there's definitely room there for me to sit and have a bloated belly. Yeah, so really pleased with this make. Like I say, it came together really nicely. Love the fabric. I love adding all these little notions that I've added on that Yelena sent me. So thank you ever so much, Yelena, for sending these to me. Really loved them. So what I'll do then is take the dress off so you can see it on the inside in more detail. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I've took it off and I'll try and bring it in a little closer so you can see the rick-rack trim there around the edge. So there is a contrast in the colour. It looks lovely. And then you'll see that there is a waistband here, which is top stitched, which looks really nice. And then the pockets, again with the rick-rack trim there and the little embroidery flowers. So there was a navy one, a yellow one and a light blue one. And then this one here. And then on the inside, then you'll see that this is my lining fabric there. And the darts, then you'll see there they are. It's just a line, so the raw edges are enclosed. My bias bound facing. And then you've got the invisible zip just here. So I think that's been inserted fairly well. You can probably see just slightly where it's, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, slightly out a little bit with that waistline seam, but I'm not too fussed. You'll see here that I've got two stitch markings where I've attached the buttons. Now, I wouldn't usually have them on show, but I wanted them to be quite secure, the buttons. So that's why I've decided to go through the 2 layers of the waistband, because obviously that's when you're sitting down and it's pulling. I didn't want it to, like, I don't know, stress too much on the waistband. So I decided to go through, because I thought you're not going to really see that unless you really look for it. So the buttons that she sent me, Yelena sent me, they're lovely. They're like wooden ones with a very small circle. See if I can get that to focus in. There we are. Lovely little circles on it in different colours. Yeah, so that's how they're attached. So you'll see where I lengthen the straps. They're quite long. They probably should have finished 2 inches shorter about there, and that would have been fine. But like I say, I just wanted to err on the side of caution. So on the inside then, where it is lined, I've just overlocked the edges of the skirt before I inserted the zip, so that kept it really neat. So what I'll do is turn the dress inside out for you, so you can see where you have, sorry if I'm waving this around too much for you, but you can see there on the inside you've got the waistband piece, which is all enclosed, the raw edges, looks really neat. And then at the bottom, if I bring that down, you can see my bias bound hem that I think looks really neat. And then where I've got the zip in the back, Again, just overlocked the edges of the skirt before putting the zip in, so it just looks really neat. So I'm really, really pleased with the inside of the garment as well as the outside. And I just love this dress. I can't wait to wear it. I went out for a curry last night and I was going to wear it, but then I thought, no, I don't want it to smell. And I'm really pleased that I didn't, because my clothes at the moment are hanging outside on the washing line because they stink, and I've Febrezed them, and hopefully the cold air will get rid of the smell, as they didn't really need washing. But yes, so that's my dress then for the Swap, Share, Sew challenge. Really, really pleased. There are some prizes to be won, so I'll just quickly go through those with you. It was open to UK and international. And for the UK, the prizes for Best Haberdashery Parcel was a £20 Lamazi voucher. And second place was for a Foxglove and Field pattern weight, which would be absolutely amazing. That was for Best Haberdashery Parcel. The second one was for Using Everything Received in Your Parcel, and that was for first place £20 Sewisfaction voucher, and second place was for a Sew Dainty necklace. So, I mean, amazing prizes. The third category was for Most Ingenious Use of a Haberdashery Item, and the first place is for the £10 Sew Me Sunshine voucher, and second place a £10 Village Haberdashery voucher. And then the last category for the UK is Best Garment, and the first place is for a £25 Girl Charlie voucher, and second place is for a Fabric Edit bundle. So amazing prizes. You'd just have to say what categories you want to be put forward for. So I'm just going to put myself forward for all of them, because if you're not in it, you don't win it, do you? So why not? And then for international, then it's the same categories, but the prizes are for a Cashmerette PDF for the Best Haberdashery. Using Everything Received in Your Parcel is for Sew Projects Knickers, so that was my sewing partner. And then the Most Ingenious Use of a Haberdashery Item was for a Nina Lee PDF pattern, and Best Garment is for a Crafty Pin-Up Shop cross-stitch PDF. So amazing projects for our international friends. So that's amazing. So I'm so happy I joined in with this sewing challenge. I urge you to, you know, join in with sewing challenges if you've not before. It's good. I mean, you have a deadline, so it can be a bit stressful to get it done, but I had a whole month to get this dress done. So yeah, and I've got so much more to make. So I'm going to be coming back to you at the end of November, I've decided, with a makes video of all the makes that I should hopefully have made by then. I've got so many things lined up that I want to get done by the end of the year, so I'm hoping that I'll get quite a significant chunk of those done throughout November, because I really want to have December, you know, free for Christmas and partying, and not get as stressed as I felt I was last year. So I want to be a bit more organised. That's my plan. So we'll see if that happens. But yes, hopefully I've got some nice things to show you at the end of November then. But I'm excited to get that dress being worn throughout the autumn and winter months. Definitely going to make another one, probably in a chambray for the summer months. You still would need to wear a top underneath it for sure though, because obviously with the crossover straps at the back, you'll have your bra on show otherwise. So you can just wear it with short sleeve t-shirt kind of top, or an Agnes top or something like that. So I really do hope you've enjoyed this pattern review and this video. Please give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe, that kind of thing. And I'll see you again soon. Thank you ever so much for watching. Bye.